Well, well, Puff Daddy, Diddy, Sean Combs, whichever name you're going by these days, it's time we had a little heart-to-heart. You've been cruising in the fast lane for decades, but today I'm here to steer you back to the path of righteousness. And trust me, I've seen worse turnarounds. I've been in this business for over 2,000 years. Let me start with some biblical truth. What does it profit a man to gain the whole world, yet forfeit his soul? Mark 8:36. You've got the fame, the money, the mansions, the whole empire, but are you truly fulfilled? I don't mean fulfilled like a closet stuffed with Versace robes. I'm talking about peace. Real peace. The kind you can't buy, no matter how many bottles of baby oil you've stockpiled. Now look, I get it. You've been on top of the world since the 90s. Bad boy records, Biggie, the lavish lifestyle, private jets. That's quite the ride. But you and I both know, when the lights dim and the parties end, there's something missing, isn't there? You've been trying to fill that void with all kinds of things. Fame, money, control over others. But deep down, what you're looking for is something you can only find within. Speaking of control, let's talk about those freak-offs and all the interesting things that have come out recently. Look, I'm not here to judge. Well, actually, I kinda am. But this isn't about guilt. It's about change. Your lifestyle might have been glamorous, but even in the midst of it, the Bible says, "A man reaps what he sows." Galatians 6:7. And brother, you've been sowing some chaos. It's time to stop treating life like one big after party and start focusing on what matters: your soul, your legacy, and the people you've hurt along the way. Let's hit pause on the headlines for a second. Diddy, you know better. I mean, look at all the influence you've got. You could use that power for so much good. Instead of being at the center of scandals, imagine being the guy who turns the whole story around. I'm talking a full 180. Just like Zacchaeus, the tax collector who I met in Jericho. He was ripping people off left and right, but when I called him down from that sycamore tree, he was a changed man. He even gave back 4 times what he stole. Luke 19:8. Now that's the kind of legacy you should aim for, one where people remember you for giving, not taking. And Puff, don't think I haven't seen the footage. That whole situation with Cassie, rough. You threw some punches, and that was just what made it to TMZ. But listen, everyone makes mistakes. Even Peter denied me 3 times, but I didn't cancel him. I forgave him, and he became the rock on which I built my church. Matthew 16:18. The real question is, are you willing to face those mistakes and change? Or are you going to keep playing the same old song? Because right now, it looks like you're stuck on repeat. And don't get me wrong, I get it. It's easy to lose sight of things when you're surrounded by yes men and unlimited crystal. But I'm here to tell you, it's not too late. I specialize in second chances. Just ask Mary Magdalene, who went from brokenness to becoming one of my most devoted followers. And don't even get me started on Saul. That guy was literally hunting down Christians before he had his road to Damascus moment. Acts 9:1-19. One vision of me and bam, his whole life flipped. He became Paul, one of the greatest apostles of all time. You've got your own Damascus Road moment right now. All these scandals, the court cases, the media frenzy, it's all a wake-up call. You can either keep running from it, or you can face it head-on, make amends, and start anew. Now, I don't need to tell you how to turn your life around. You're a smart guy. But let me give you some divine wisdom. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Matthew 5:9. Make peace with those you've hurt. Puff. Apologize not just for show, but with sincerity. And then start giving back. I'm not talking about throwing a fancy charity gala. I mean real, hands-on change. Help the people you've wronged and lift up those who have been overlooked. Imagine using your empire to spread love, to inspire change, to help those who need it most. You could build schools, invest in communities, and create opportunities for people who've been stuck in the same cycles you once thrived in. It's time to step up, Diddy. And don't forget, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Matthew 6:21. So where is your treasure right now? In another headline about lawsuits and arrests, or in building a better future for yourself and others? I'll leave you with this. The world doesn't need another mogul. It needs a man willing to stand for something greater than himself. You've got the potential to be that man. The only question is, are you ready to listen? Now, Puff, I know you love to talk about legacy, how you want to be remembered, the mark you want to leave. But let me ask you something. Is this the mark you were hoping for? I've seen what you're capable of when you put your mind to it. You've built an empire out of thin air. You've made hits that people still jam to 20 years later. But right now, your legacy is starting to look like one big TMZ headline. All that power, influence, wealth. Wasted on what? Baby oil and AR-15. Come on, Puff. I didn't turn water into wine just for you to make a mess of things. Here's a little wisdom from the good book. A good name is more desirable than great riches. To be esteemed is better than silver or gold. Proverbs 22:1. Sure, you've got more dollars than some countries, but what good is that when people hear your name and think, that guy was a nightmare to work with? Or worse, he destroyed lives. You've been chasing earthly rewards, but your real legacy, the one that matters, that comes from how you treat others, especially when the cameras aren't rolling. I know you've got a tough image to maintain. You've been living as bad boy for life. But let's talk about life after the parties stop. Puff. Bad doesn't mean better. Some of the strongest people I've known were the most humble. Moses, for example. He started off with a bit of a temper, killed a guy, ran away, thought he was washed up. But when he came back, he was ready to lead. You don't have to be perfect, Puff. You just have to be willing to change. Another thing, loyalty. You talk a lot about loyalty, but let's examine that for a minute. Loyalty doesn't mean keeping a crew around to hype you up while everything crumbles. You've got people on your payroll who'd follow you into a burning building if you told them it was the move. But are they really there for you? The truth is, a real friend tells you when you're out of line. And Puff, you've been way out of line. Look at your circle and ask yourself, are these the people who'll help me build something lasting? Or are they just there for the ride? It reminds me of Judas. Yeah, that guy. He was close to me, followed me around, listened to every word I said. But when it came down to it, he sold me out for 30 pieces of silver. I'm not saying you've got a Judas in your camp. Well, maybe you do. But the point is, real loyalty is about truth, even when it's hard to hear. You don't need a crew of yes men. You need people who'll help you do better. Iron sharpens iron. Proverbs 27:17. And you've been hanging out with butter knives. Let's get practical for a second. You've got millions of dollars, worldwide influence and connections that most people could only dream of. So why not use those gifts for something that actually matters? Remember when I fed the 5,000 with just 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. It wasn't about the miracle itself. It was about showing love and compassion to people who needed it. Puff. With the kind of resources you've got, you could be feeding a lot more than 5,000. I'm talking about real change here. Helping the communities you came from, investing in young talent, giving back to those who don't have a fraction of what you do. Imagine turning your entire bad boy empire into something that lifts people up, instead of, well, whatever it's been lately. It is more blessed to give than to receive. Acts 20 and 25. I know you've been doing a lot of receiving lately, money, cars, private jets, but the real blessing comes when you give. I'm not talking about a tax write-off. I mean giving from the heart. The kind of giving that changes people's lives. You've got that power, and trust me, I'd know a thing or two about real power. And before you think this is all doom and gloom, let me hit you with something motivational. Puff. It's never too late to change. Look, people love a redemption story. Remember when the prodigal son came back after wasting all his money? His father didn't scold him. He threw him a party. Luke 15:11-32. That's what awaits you if you decide to turn things around. People will cheer for you, not because of the money, but because you finally chose to do something meaningful with it. Puff. Your greatest hit hasn't dropped yet. It's not in the studio. It's in the choices you're going to make from here on out. If you want a lasting legacy, start now. Apologize where you need to. Make things right with the people you've wronged. And use your empire to create something beautiful. Something that will outlive the scandals, the lawsuits, and the headlines. Because, in the end, the meek shall inherit the earth. Matthew 5:5. And Puff, I've got a feeling you've got a lot of good left in you. Time to show it.